The moon hung high in the starless sky, casting an eerie glow over the desolate road that cut through the thick veil of the forest. The night was a canvas of darkness, enveloping everything in its impenetrable shroud. I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles turning white as I navigated the isolated route, a sense of foreboding settling deep within me. My headlights fought against the encompassing darkness, casting feeble beams that barely pierced the thick canopy of trees. Shadows danced on the periphery of my vision, twisting into grotesque shapes that seemed to slink away into the blackness. Fumbling with the crackling radio's knobs proved futile. It seemed trapped in its own spectral realm, refusing to yield anything other than the haunting noise. The silence within the car felt suffocating, unnerving amidst the solitude of the night. An unsettling feeling of being watched lingered, intensifying with each passing moment. As I ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, a dense fog crept in, snaking along the ground and swallowing the road in its ghostly embrace. Visibility diminished, reducing the world to a spectral haze. Panic clawed at the edges of my mind, urging me to turn back, but an inexplicable force propelled me forward, deeper into the enigmatic labyrinth. A figure materialized within the mist, a silhouette standing motionless at the roadside, barely discernible amidst the swirling fog. I hit the brakes, the car screeching to a halt as I squinted through the haze, trying to make sense of the ethereal apparition. The figure beckoned with a wavering hand, an eerie luminescence emanating from its indistinct features. Fear gripped me, freezing me in place, yet an inexplicable compulsion urged me to heed the spectral invitation. I stepped out into the swirling mist, the fog enveloping me like a shroud. The figure remained at a distance, its presence strangely serene amidst the ethereal haze. A haunting melody, soft yet chilling, drifted through the fog, a mournful lament that echoed through the forest, intertwining with the eerie stillness of the night. Mesmerized, I followed the spectral figure deeper into the ghostly landscape, the world around me dissolving into an otherworldly dreamscape. We arrived at an ancient cemetery, tombstones weathered by time, standing sentinel in the spectral haze. The figure led me to a lone grave, adorned with wilted flowers and an unsettling stillness that pervaded the air. A name etched on the tombstone caught my eye, a name that stirred a distant memory, a name I had long forgotten or had wanted to forget. Before I could decipher its significance, a sudden movement in the fog caught my attention. Something slithered amidst the mist, a dark, twisted creature with elongated limbs and glowing, malevolent eyes. It moved with an eerie grace, stalking us from the shadows, its presence a grotesque aberration in the spectral landscape. Panic surged through me as the creature closed the distance, its haunting wails merging with the ghostly whispers that echoed through the mist. The spectral figure beside me turned, its luminescent gaze meeting mine, conveying a silent warning. Summoning every ounce of courage, I turned to flee, but the fog had thickened, obscuring any trace of the path I had followed. I was trapped in this haunted realm, hunted by an otherworldly entity. Desperate, I called out for help, the eerie voices growing louder, their haunting cries echoing through the ethereal fog. Shadows danced around me, contorting into nightmarish shapes that encircled with malevolent intent. With a surge of adrenaline, I broke into a frantic run, stumbling blindly through the fog. The creature's haunting wails echoed in pursuit, its presence a sinister force that seemed to warp the very fabric of reality. Gasping for breath, I collapsed back against my car, heart racing with primal fear. With trembling hands, I started the engine, speeding away from the cursed forest and the haunting encounter that threatened to consume me. As I left the spectral realm behind, the world around me slowly returned to its familiar form. The night had unfolded its chilling secrets, leaving me stranded on the border between reality and the supernatural, the encounter with the haunting creature etched into the deepest recesses of my consciousness. The night was thick with an eerie silence as I cruised along the desolate highway, the only companion being the soft hum of the engine. The road stretched endlessly ahead, swallowed by the darkness that seemed to seep into every crevice. The dim glow of the dashboard lights cast elongated shadows across the interior of the car, playing tricks on my tired mind. I glanced into the rearview mirror, feeling a sudden chill crawl down my spine. There, in the back seat, sat a figure cloaked in darkness. My heart leaped to my throat and I blinked hard, convinced it was a trick of the shadows. But as I looked again, the shape solidified into a silhouette, distinct and unmistakable. A woman, or what appeared to be one, sat there, her features obscured by a hooded cloak that seemed to drink in the faint light. Panic surged through me, my fingers tightening around the steering wheel. How could someone be in my car? I hadn't seen anyone on the road for miles. My voice quivered as I forced out words. Who are you? Silence greeted me, thick and suffocating. The figure remained motionless, an unsettling presence in the back seat. I contemplated pulling over, demanding an explanation or even fleeing from this inexplicable horror. But fear rooted me to my seat, a chilling realization settling in. I couldn't see her face. Not a hint of her features was visible beneath that hood, just an impenetrable darkness. My mind raced, conjuring up terrifying possibilities. Was she some specter of the night? A malevolent spirit seeking company? Or worse, something far more sinister? A witch, perhaps? The car careened along the dark, twisting road, my heart pounding in terror with every passing moment. The figure in the backseat remained a chilling enigma, her presence casting a suffocating shadow over me. Desperation seized me, and I knew I had to confront this spectral intruder, to demand answers or find a way to rid myself of this haunting presence. With a trembling voice, I gathered my courage again. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper, but the silence that followed was deafening. The car's interior seemed to grow colder, the air thick with an otherworldly chill. Panic clawed at my chest, urging me to flee, but my shaking hands clung to the steering wheel, trying to maintain control. Suddenly, a pale hand emerged from beneath the cloak, extending toward me. I flinched, expecting a sinister attack, but instead, the figure placed something on the passenger seat beside me, a small, ancient-looking book bound in weathered leather. I dared a glance at the book, my heart racing. Etched on its cover were strange symbols that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. The air crackled with an arcane energy, sending prickles of fear down my spine. A soft, haunting voice filled the car, emanating from the figure. "Take it, the Book of Forgotten Souls. It will reveal what you seek." My mind reeled with a mixture of dread and curiosity. I reached out tentatively, fingertips grazing the book's surface, and a jolt surged through me. Visions of cryptic images and forbidden knowledge flashed before my eyes, leaving an indelible mark on my consciousness. With trembling hands, I opened the ancient tome, its pages filled with cryptic incantations and eldritch lore. It was as if the book pulsed with a dark, unknown power, drawing me deeper into its enigmatic secrets. Before I could comprehend the full extent of what I held, a blinding light enveloped the car. The figure in the back seat began to fade, dissolving into the ether like a wisp of smoke, leaving behind an echo of her haunting words. "Find the truth within the pages," her voice echoed, fading into the night. The car slowed to a stop, the oppressive darkness lifting with the departure of the mysterious visitor. Trembling and bewildered, I clutched the ancient tome tightly, unsure of the path ahead. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, I sat there, haunted by the encounter, the Book of Forgotten Souls resting ominously in my hands, a gateway to secrets untold, and a choice that would determine the course of my fate. The road ahead remained uncertain, fraught with the unknown, and the chilling presence of the witch lingered as a foreboding reminder of the tangled web of mysteries yet to unfold. The hum of the engine provided the only semblance of comfort as I navigated the desolate road that snaked through the countryside. The darkness outside was thick, almost tangible, swallowing everything in its inky embrace. My knuckles turned white, gripping the steering wheel, trying to fend off the unease that settled heavily in the pit of my stomach. The headlights started to flicker, emitting bursts of light one minute and spreading deathly darkness the next, a darkness that grated on my nerves. Fumbling with the knobs only resulted in absolute darkness. The night seemed unusually dense, devoid of the usual nocturnal sounds, lack of any source of light amplifying the eerie solitude. As my eyes settled to the darkness, I took in the surroundings, which looked even more sinister now. Trees stood sentinel-like, their gnarled branches casting elongated shadows that danced ominously across the road. An inexplicable feeling of being watched sent shivers coursing down my spine, despite the solitude. A figure materialized ahead, emerging from the dense fog, an apparition draped in tattered garments, its features obscured in the mist. My breath caught in my throat as I slammed on the brakes, heart pounding erratically. The figure beckoned with spectral hands, an invitation or a warning I couldn't discern. Every fiber of my being screamed to flee, yet an inexplicable force drew me closer, inch by hesitant inch. A gut-wrenching dread settled over me as the figure drew near the window at my side, its movements unnatural, like a marionette pulled by invisible strings. Frozen in terror, I watched as it vanished into the fog, leaving an unsettling chill in its wake. Shaken but determined to shake off the encounter, I maneuvered the car forward, hoping to escape the haunting presence. Desperate, I reached for my phone, but the screen remained blank, a dead electronic slab in my trembling hands. The thick fog engulfed the car, cocooning me in a suffocating embrace. The air inside grew heavy, laden with an acrid scent that made my head spin. A faint light flickered in the distance, barely visible through the swirling mist. Hope surged within me, a beacon in the suffocating darkness. Ignoring the ominous warnings echoing in my mind, I drove toward the elusive light, desperate for escape. The light led me to a dilapidated building, a forgotten inn standing ominously amidst the swirling fog. Reluctantly, I stepped out of the car, my feet crunching on gravel as I approached the decrepit structure. The inn exuded an eerie aura, its windows boarded up and the door creaking open with a haunting wail. A strange compulsion drove me forward, the pull of the unknown stronger than my fear. I stepped inside, the air thick with the scent of decay and something more sinister. The interior was shrouded in darkness, save for a flickering candle at the far end of the room. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting into grotesque shapes that seemed to leer and mock my presence. A dark figure stood before me, its features obscured in the dim light, its hollow eyes fixing on me with an inscrutable gaze, a bloody scythe in its hand dripping a black fluid. Terror seized me as I stumbled backward, my heart pounding in my chest. In a desperate frenzy, I searched for an escape, but the walls seemed to close in, suffocating me with their oppressive presence. The spectral figure advanced, its ethereal form emanating a chilling cold that seeped into my bones. With a final surge of adrenaline, I hurled myself against the boarded-up windows, shards of glass cutting into my skin. The night air rushed in, bringing with it a sense of fleeting freedom. I stumbled into the fog, the inn disappearing behind me as if it had never existed. Shaken to my core, I dragged myself back to my car, its headlights throwing miles-long beams of light. With trembling hands, I started the engine, speeding away from the cursed inn and the haunting encounter that would forever haunt my nightmares.